Okay, Slammiversary 2024. Before I get started, before I talk about the show and my final thoughts, I just want to say this was a good show. It was a good pay-per-view. Flat out, the wrestlers did their job. The fans were loud, which really helped. It was enjoyable. But I'm going to tell anyone this, and I'm saying this clearly. What the fuck did we really get? What did we really get? Because as it was good, yes, it was not even close to what we had been told we're going to be getting. Let's make that clear. Let's make this crystal clear. It's a good pay-per-view. But it's not even close to what we had been told we're going to have. Because, as someone told me in a comment, that Jordan Grace said we're going to have some great surprises. Did we get surprised? Yeah. But great surprises? Not even close. And I want to make it clear, this isn't Jordan Grace's fault. Not blaming her. She wanted to make sure this pay-per-view was done well. Anyone else, like an Eric Young or anyone who started touting on X or any other platform, they wanted to make this as great as it could be. And it was good. But this came so under the bar that they wanted to set. They said it here. They're here. That's the truth. This is not about if they're not doing good work. This is about them trying to hype something up that we've had months of covering. And I said it myself. What is TNA really getting? What is TNA really getting? Flat out. Not a lot. Let's open with the kickoff. Let me give it to you like this. Supposedly, we're getting a possible number one contendership here. When we have Tasha Steelz, Abby Apache. I've seen her a couple of times in AAA. She wrestles okay. Gazelle Shaw and Xia Brookside. Now, let me give it to you like this. If you're going to be honest here, who seemed to be the best person that should go forward? Was it Xia Brookside? She's been used quite a lot. You would think maybe she will be the next person to go up against Jordan Grace. Then you have Abby Apache. We've seen her a couple of times. She mainly works in AAA. She's a Duranus champion, I believe, at this time, or former Duranus champion. If she went up against them and won, and maybe they would have a number one contendership in the next couple of weeks, I could buy that too. Then we have Gazelle Shaw, who has just came back, and they seem to be putting on a trajectory that could be something. And then last but not least, Tasha Steelz, who is jobbed to Xia Brookside, who is jobbed to a couple of others, and legitimately to Gazelle Shaw. And she wins, which is very confusing. You would think that it would be better to use maybe a Xia Brookside. You can do face on face. Or Jordan Grace versus Gazelle Shaw, which would be a nice rematch. Hell, Abby Apache would probably be better than any of them because she's from AAA. They just stated they not renegotiated, but reworked their agreement to work together. Wouldn't it have been good to see Apache gain it? They used Tasha Steelz, who's been losing. You guys tell me if I'm wrong. That's if this is even a number one contendership. Now, Rick Swann versus a Kushida. Now, Jonathan Gresham could not come. Something happened. I don't know what it was. He could not show up in Montreal. So he wasn't there. It was Kushida. And I'm going to be putting images in, I believe. And you can see them all kanjied up. I was like, I don't think those are permanent. I believe that might be, what do they call it? Henna? Henna marks that can stay on your skin for a while until you wash it off. He looked menacing, interesting, But I think it would have been better if he went up against Jonathan Gresham. But unfortunately wasn't there. So he went up against Eric Swan, who was last minute stood in. And of course, Kushida won. But now the question is going to be what they're going to do with Kushida and Jonathan Gresham. I'm still very interested in seeing what they're going to do with Jonathan Gresham. And now Kushida was all tatted up with Kanchi. It's interesting. Final match. Was it a final match? Or was there one more match? I think. Oh yeah, there was one more match. No, there were two more matches. You got Spitfire versus the Champs. Now, I didn't expect Spitfire to win here. Because they really do not want to take that title off of... It would have been better if Alicia Edwards had won the Digital Media Championship, but it's on AJ Francis' waist. I think it would have been easier for her to have it, because Jordan Grace had won it one time, and I do believe it would have been better if Alicia had that, because having her as a tag champ really doesn't feel really good. Because you're not really putting Marsha Slamovich in the system. She needs to be in the system, but they're not doing it. So it always felt off balance. So, of course, they did win. And that is Marsha Slamovich and Alicia Edwards. But it seemed like a little bit of miscommunication more than a few times during the match. Particularly with Marsha Slamovich and Alicia Edwards. So I'm not saying it was a bad match. But I'm not going to say it was very good. It was a bit sloppy. A lot of miscommunications. I don't know. You guys tell me what that match meant to you. To me personally, because there's so few women in the division, it still feels like a joke. And I still wish Alicia Edwards to have the Digital Media Championship. I'm just saying. An extra match was added, number 4, for the kickoff. We got Santino Marella coming out, and he says, we're going to have a special match. And there was only 8 minutes left. They didn't want to do some advertisements, so they decided to give us one more match. Eric Young versus Hammerstone coming back. And you guys tell me below. He had... Oh, no, I think his side of his head right here. He looked like he got hurt. Maybe he was in GCW and he got injured. And I know there's someone who loves GCW. Well, in this situation, I don't like it. Because you see Hammerstone coming back, but then he's injured before he even comes back because he looks like he had been sutured and stapled on his head. A returning Hammerstone who's already injured from probably working another company. And if it was GCW, that sucks. So we get an 8-minute match. At one point, Hammerstone's back is bleeding. And it feels so rushed that Hammerstone won, but then it didn't really feel like anything. And then we get to talk with Eric Young, which he could have done that without the damn match. And that's what I would have liked to see. He didn't even have to have a match. He could have came out in his clothes, and like he did the last time, he could have spoke. But here, really? So you can set up for this Impact? So you're going to have Hammerstone and his partner versus Eric Young and his? And you know who I'm talking about? I'm just not saying the name yet. I'm just saying, really? Let's move on to the main card. Matt Hardy versus JDC. Now, of course, Jeff was not there because, as you already know, and just in case you don't know, Jeff Hardy has multiple DUI arrests and has been found guilty driving under the influence multiple times to the point where he's now not allowed to drive ever again. He is permanently barred from ever driving again, and he's also permanently barred from leaving the country. He just can't. He's not allowed. Unless they change it, he can never go out of the country, and he is barred from ever driving a car again. So there was no way he was going to be able to come here. He can't. He's not allowed to leave the country. So it was Matt going against a Johnny Dangle Curtis, who messed up Jeff and also messed up Rebby. It was a good match. I was alright with it. And seeing how many twists of fate, 3 twists of fates, People loved it. People were behind it. And I was all right with it. I do believe it was rushed, though. Because let's make it clear. This would have been good 2 or 3 or 4 weeks ago that Reby got nailed. Matt saw his brother get nailed. And he's been trying to get his hand on JDC for weeks. That would have been better than maybe less than a week. It feels rushed. And that's what it was. Doesn't mean it was bad. No. Next match. Tag Champs. ABC versus the Tag Champs of Eddie Edwards and the Brian Myers, the most professional wrestler. Good match. Alicia tried her best to help that match. She won hers, so she was involving herself a lot, and at one point, she got her face kicked off. I do believe by either Chris Bay or I think it was Chris Bay that nailed her in the face. But it didn't save her because in the end, ABC won. So now the system does not have the tag belts anymore. Do I believe that's bad? No. With they're supposed to have some type of tournament, I think. I think it would be kind of like a tournament. But we got 6 teams that's going to be going up against the tag champs. Question's going to be, unless I'm talking about SmackDown. I could be getting it mixed up. If I'm not, tell me below if I'm getting mixed up because I'm kind of forgetting. But it's good to see ABC as the champs, but they need more tag teams. Like, they need to bring in tag teams from outside to make the division feel more full, like with the women, like with the knockouts, and they're not doing it. So that's still a major issue. Next, Jake Something versus Santana. Now, I'm not going to lie to you, I had to go and take a piss. I've been holding it for a while. I had to take a piss. It was a good match for what it was. Santana did well. Jake Something went well. They got good chemistry, but I do not know who won. I don't know. By the time I came back, I missed it. Now, if I had to take a guess, it was Santana. I do believe that Santana is being pushed right now, so if he was the one who won, I'm not surprised. But if Jake won, then that means they're going to have to do something with him and Diener. Diener is more of his manager than his cousin than anything. But that's just me. Here's the match that I'm like, why? 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 It's stupid. It's stupid Thursday, and it feels stupid here. Not because the match quality is bad, not because I wasn't happy to see the Rascals all together, or the Quarter Catch Crew. I'm going like, you had a match this Thursday. The No Quarter Catch Crew versus the Rascals and Kushida, and they took out Kushida, which was dumb. They should have never had Kushida, they should have never had the match, and they should have just had a singles match for either Bourne or Dempsey or Tavion Heights. One of them could have been done, and you could have still done what you needed to do with the Treehouse with Wesley. It could have been done, but no. You gave us that match this Thursday, and now you gave us a repeat of that match. Just Kushida's been removed, and Wesley is there when it should have been here. It was dumb. I'm sorry. No, I am not happy. This was disappointing. Not because the match was bad, because it was a good match. But you just gave it to me and everyone else this Thursday. That's freaking stupid booking. That is stupid booking. If you're doing a interpromotional type of thing with TKO WWE, you want to make it feel special and important. Why are you doing the same match twice and just taking one person out and inserting another? It is dumb. You just had a win for NXT and now a win for TNA. You could have just done the win of TNA on the pay-per-view, unless there's an agreement that they can't lose on TNA and it has to be a tie. And if it's that, that's stupid, because you could be doing this on a TNA Plus show. You could have the No Quarter Catch Crew lose here, but then on a TNA Plus show, you can have them win there. At least it would be able to extend this collaboration, which feels stupid here. You just did the match twice, and you just made it 1-1, and it feels stupid. I'm sorry, I'm going to repeat that. If you liked the match, which I did like it, good. But if you think this was awesome, we got 2 matches back to back, that was stupid booking, and you don't get it. Moving on. We get the street fight, PCO versus AJ Francis, with his entourage. I can't remember who it was with him. What was the guy's name? Reynolds, I believe. That was a big ass guy who weighed over 300 pounds. And another rapper. And then we had, what was the guy's name? Death Soul. I believe that's his name. Since I don't know who held PCO before he went to TNA, if he was the one who is contributing to how not TNA. Let me give you like this. If Death Soul or Death Blow, I think Death Blow, is the one who helped to create the character and make the character over PCO, cool. I'm glad he's there. I never seen him, so I don't know. But seeing that was cool. Seeing Sami Callihan coming out to try and help was alright. But I'm going to be honest here. Why did Rhino have to come out? Because he's Canadian. And I feel like it wasn't necessary for him to come out. I'm sorry. I don't think Rhino was needed in this situation. Even though it was not a bad street fight. And let's make it clear. It wasn't a great street fight. It was okay. It was alright. AJ Francis did a decent job. I wasn't having a problem with it. Seeing PCO do a PCO assault twice was not bad. It was okay. I didn't have a problem with the match. Now the question's going to be 2 things. 2. Because the first one is more important than the second, which I called the second months ago. I called it months ago. You know I said this months ago. But the first one, which is more important than anything else, what are they going to do with the International Heavyweight Championship? Please make it into the TNA International Heavyweight Championship. I don't care if you take away the Digital Media Championship. You can retire it and make the TNA International Heavyweight Championship. Or the TNA International Championship. I don't care. Please do not let PCO keep that title and then it goes away. Because that would be a waste. It'll be stupid and a waste. It's got more prestige and more history behind it than the Digital Media Championship. If they get rid of that thing after a couple of months, I promise you I will rant and I will tell TNA they were stupid bastards for getting rid of a title unless they're not allowed by law. If they are allowed, they fucked up. But if they're not allowed by law to use it, which they have, it's stupid. They should use that title, retire the Digital Media Championship, and make the TNA International Championship. Please, please. That's the one that's more important. This one is not. Surprise? I was not. Seeing after the match is over, PCO won. We see Staff Delander come out. What did I say when they were dating? When they had the date in the ring when I thought they should have went to an actual restaurant. That sooner or later, that this was going to go to a wedding type of thing. We just had Steph Delander jump into the ring looking like Wednesday from the Addams Family. She still looked pretty. And she got down on her knee, opened up the case with supposedly a ring that she dropped on the floor, looking for it, picked it up and said, "Will you marry me?" He says, "We." She puts it on his finger because at this time, men can be asked, "Will you marry me?" And now we are going to have a wedding segment, a wedding story. Well, that's not something I haven't seen a dozen times. Oh, when did we not get that? ODB with Eric Young. What about Braxton Sutter and Laura Van Ness? We've gotten these before. They always go to it. And in this situation, I knew was coming. Doesn't mean it'll be bad. No, it's going to depend on how they're going to be able to book it and package it in a way that people are going to like it. But it's predictable. It is so predictable, it's ludicrously predictable. Doesn't mean it's bad, it's just predictable. Moving on. Going to the other page. Okay. Ash by Elegance versus Jordan Grace for the Knockouts Championship. Now, I'm going to say this. I think I said this on my TNA review, that there could be one of two ways this might go down. If we were going to have anyone from NXT or TKO WWE show up, Ash was going to have a short match, and then that person would show up and maybe ask to get a match. Or it was going to be one of two ways if you're going to bring someone in. Or you're going to have Ash have a really long-ass match, show what she can do, and eventually win. Now, we didn't get anyone coming from NXT at all. No Shayna Baszler, no Natalya, no Tatum Paxley, no Wendy Chu, nobody. What we got was a match, and what we got was Rosemary scaring off the Iceman who had just been ejected and having a problem just pulling out her knife from her leg, going, oh, she's going to have a knife, and chases him away. And now, instead of having red hair, she has blonde or white hair. I don't know how to feel about this with Rosemary. What is Rosemary doing? Is she obsessed with the Iceman? Is she in love with the Iceman? Then maybe that would make sense. But I don't know. I don't know what to make of Rosemary. If you're liking Rosemary, fine. But as someone who's seen Rosemary since she first appeared in Impact Wrestling, and TNA and the very edge of TNA going into Impact, I'm like, what is she doing right now? She's literally doing nothing. Walking around with a knife, trying to scare the Iceman, and we don't even know if she's trying to scare the Iceman because she wants to torment him, or she's scaring the Iceman because she likes him. And I don't know which one it is. That's not good if you can't tell which one it is, because she's barely done anything. She's supposed to be a loner who's evil now. And the only thing she's done is scared the concierge. It doesn't feel right. But I will tell you this. When you get them both away, the concierge and Rosemary, what we got was the best match I've ever seen from Ash, the former Dana Brooke. This was the best match she's ever done. Flat out. There's never been a match I've ever seen her do as good as this one. Was it sloppy? Yes. It was a bit sloppy. Did it look a little telegraphed? Yes. Nearing the end, it looked a bit too telegraphed. And it looked sloppy because of it. But there's no denying that this was the best effort I've ever seen from Ash. Now, Ash, as we know, she's more of a character-driven wrestler than she is an in-ring wrestler. But it doesn't mean she can't wrestle. But she did very well here. But there was one major problem. I do believe I have a shot of it. You see that titty? I said this more than a few times as she's been wrestling, that I think she needs to put some type of brace across her top to make sure her bra doesn't hurt, her top doesn't come loose or move too much. Because, look, let's make it clear. Ash, she's a heavy-chested woman. She's beautiful, but she's heavy-chested. And we've seen her multiple times having to keep readjusting a bra instead of doing the match. Now, this happens with women. Let's make it clear. I'm not doing this just because of her. I've seen women have to do that. They have to eventually adjust themselves sooner or later because of all the work they do in the ring. But Ash, due to the fact that she's a heavy-chested girl and that her top is very heavily revealing, it is an incredibly good thing that she decided, like most women, to make sure they wear pasties over their nipples. Because if you see that shot, if I didn't show it, I'm showing it now. Her top has already pulled all the way down, and what you're seeing now is a very large pasty over her nipples. Or at least one of her breasts with the nipples. And I was like, uh-oh, here we go. I'm glad she's smart enough to wear something like that to cover her nipples. But I'm going like, hasn't she realized, unless she likes that happening, that her top has a major issue? That she needs to have a new type of top that maybe needs to be a little thicker and a cross brace across it. There's nothing wrong with having a cross brace. She can still show a lot of cleavage that way. Now, if Ash saw this, I'm going to tell her, Ash, girl, I've never had a problem when you used to be Dana Brooke. I never did. I always thought you did your best. I respect you for that. Since you've been in TNA, you worked. You tried to make your character and your ring work well. But your ring attire, you need to do something about that. Because literally, if you didn't have a pasty over your titties, people would have been seeing those nipples. I'm hoping she'll listen, or at least someone tell her, please be careful. Change your top. Look, I like a pair of tits. I want a girlfriend with great tits. Hi girlfriend, if there's any out there. But you get my point. She needs to address this sooner or later. If it's not with TNA, it's going to have to be with AEW, or if she goes back, if they even take her back in TKO WWE. You never know. Grace won. And I'm going like, okay. It does make sense not to let Grace lose the title. But then, after she won, I expected someone from the back to come out. I expected someone to come out to be a next challenge. Because she made it very clear there was going to be surprises. Nothing. There was no Shayna Baszler. There was no Natalya. There was no Tatum Paxley, of course, again. There's no Wendy Chu. There was nobody. And I'm going like, there should be somebody there in the back to come out and be her next opponent. And there's no one. And I'm like, then where's the surprise? And I thought, all right, maybe it's going to be at the 6-way tag, or maybe with Speedball Mike Bailey and Ali. Something. So let's go to that. The match that was the best match of the night for me personally. Speedball Mike Bailey versus a Mustafa Ali. But then, I gotta admit, as much it was the best match of the night, as it came for the wrestling, I want to make this clear, it was the best match of the night for me for the wrestling, not the story. Because when we saw the story, I was like, are you fucking kidding me? No. Look, we got interference from outside, yes. We got the security, the SS, the Secret Service trying to save Ali. We got the campaign sync trying to interfere. They got stopped. Eventually, Trent Seven showed up as one of the riot guards and took them out. Great. But they literally went there with, hang on, I'm going to have to stop the camera. I got to. I'm not cutting anything out. I'm leaving it exactly as it is. I did not want to be cut off in mid-sentence because I was about less than a minute and a half left. But guys, you want to knock out the ref. And Ali calls for a new ref. And you call out Earl Hebner, who's over 60-something right now. And if you noticed, guys, Earl can't walk correctly anymore. If you didn't notice, Earl was having a major issue just trying to walk down the ramp to the ring. He can't walk correctly anymore. And they decided to do the Montreal Screwjob angle, saying that Ali is trying to cheat everyone, and they're doing the Montreal Screwjob. Oh, isn't that... How many times have they done this now in TNA? Impact Wrestling? I don't remember. I know they've done it at least once or twice easily. When it came to Earl screwing people over. And honestly, I'm telling you what would have been better. Brian Hefner being asked to come back once, goes in the ring, and he decides to do what his dad does. And then, if you have to bring out Earl, it would have been better for Earl to come out and stop his son from doing what he did more than 40 years ago. Or 30 or 40 years ago. That would have been a lot more interesting than having Earl Hebner, who could barely walk, down to the ring. He got nailed in the leg by a kick from Speedball Mike Bailey to a chair. It nailed him in his leg. I don't even know if he's all right after that. He was already limping as it was, and that might have made it worse. And even though it was a lovely moment, and I know the people in Montreal loved it, and it made sense because a lot of people liked it, a lot of people got pissed about it, they got enraged about it, but still, I'm telling you right now, I did not want to see a Montreal school job with Earl Hebner, who could barely walk, who's already nearing 70. And he's done this more than a few times. If it wasn't done in WWE, it's been done in TNA. It's been done more than once as far as I know. I think it's been done 3 times before this. I could be wrong. As far as I know, he's done it maybe 2 or 3 times already in the years since TNA and his time working there. If it hasn't been done 3 times, it's been done 2. Now 2, I'm sure. It's been done a few times before this. And I don't agree with it, but the match was good. I liked the wrestling. And there you go. Now, final match of the night. 6-man eliminator tag. Well, not an eliminator tag. Let me give it to you like this. Everybody was working together like it was a tag at first. So that's why I thought it would say eliminator and a tag. Because it is eliminator. You got to eliminate somebody, send them in the back. Whoever's the last wins. Now, did I see Joe Henry losing? No. I thought it was going to be Joe Henry or Moose that would retain. I did not think they were going to let Josh win. I didn't think they were going to let Kaz win. I didn't think they were going to let Nick win. It was either going to be Joe Henry or Moose. Now, I'm glad I was wrong. And I'm also glad to see they decided to pull the trigger on Josh Alexander and turn him heel. Because when the first person eliminated was Macklin by Moose. The second person eliminated was by Joe Henry himself. That he was the second. After Joe Henry eliminated Moose, there was a good amount of fighting. And then you see Josh dealing with him and then nut shot him with his leg. He kicks him in the nuts. And everyone got upset. And when Joe was beaten, he got beaten. Because Josh was hitting him in the face, nailing him and saying, I'm the true heart and soul of TNA. He has turned heel. Now, if anybody says, oh no, that doesn't mean he's turned heel. Yeah, he's turned heel. He is sick and tired of being the heart and soul and doing everything right, and he still gets screwed. Now he's angry. He doesn't give a damn anymore. He's going to do whatever it takes to be champ. And I did not expect Nick to win. I didn't. In fact, I thought at one point, because of how it was set up for a Kaz to get nailed through a table that was up the ramp, because they were outside the ring at one point. I thought, they're not going to let Kaz win this, are they? And they didn't. They let Nick win. And that was wonderful. I was so glad to see that Nick did win, because it does make sense that Nick finally gets that moment. But with the publicity that we've been getting with Joe Henry, and yes, someone did say that they changed the plans of Joe Henry. It's going to be something different. It makes kind of sense that maybe they might want to actually put the title on Joe Henry and not Nick. But the question's going to be, now, what now? Because where's the surprise? Look, it's a good show. This was a good pay-per-view, but it was not a great one. I'm sorry. Where is Matt Riddle? Supposing Matt Riddle has been negotiating with TNA. Where is he? Where's Ricochet? I know around this time Ricochet is now finished with WWE. He's not going to be going into August. It's, I think, around last week or this week. He's done with WWE. he doesn't have to wait for any type of clause, like a 90-minute clause in his contract. He let it run out. He's done. So I'm like, no Matt Riddle, no Ricochet. And here's one that I thought that I would not even think of. No Jinder Mahal. Yes, I know you're going to say, what? Look, they talked about having surprises here. TNA talked about having surprises in this Slammiversary 2024. Something incredibly special. What did we get? No Quarter Catch Crew doing a repeat match, but now with Wesley instead of Kushida. You got Steph Delander, asking PCO to marry her. Then what? You get Earl Hebner coming back, who could barely walk down the damn ramp. Yes, you got Josh Alexander turning heel, which actually is going to help his character. He needed a change, and it looks like if they do it and he is heelish, they needed to do a change with him. But what else do you have? What do we have here that was special? You didn't have any extra women coming in, even if they weren't from NXT. You don't even have them. Hell, you could have called Camille in. As far as I know, Camille is not part of WWE yet. And if she's still free, you couldn't even call her in to do some type of work. Call someone in special that we normally don't see. We see Rhino all the time. And now Earl is a bona fide legend, but look how bad he was. He couldn't even barely walk down the ramp. It was hard for him just to get in the damn ring and do his work. And then getting nailed in the leg by a chair that Mike Bailey kicked at him, trying to nail Mustafa Ali. I am dumbfounded right now that we are supposed to have way more than what we got since this collaboration started. I've stated this myself, that I was very concerned that TKO WWE is getting the lion's share of this agreement. We're at Slammiversary. This is one of the two most important shows they ever have throughout the year. They didn't announce anyone for the Hall of Fame that's going to be in Bound for Glory as far as I know. I didn't see it. What did we get special here? Steph Delander asking PCO to marry her. Rhino coming out. What? I'm like, that's it? This is it? This is what we were promised? Something amazing, something surprising, well beyond anything you would expect? And I still state this. This was not a bad show. It was a good pay-per-view. But it should have been great. We should have more than what we got. Even with Hammerstone coming back, who looked like he'd already been in a match that his head is busted open and his back was bleeding. This felt bad, and on top of that, the camera work wasn't that great. The audio was glitchy on a bit. When we had at one point with Speedball Mike Bailey, and I know people called Ali fuck Ali, and I know the friend of the channel who's been begging me to say that name, I am going to say it, but only once. Ball Up Speed, because they were chanting it, means nothing. Because if you're showing his wife, Speedball Mike Bailey's wife, why is she so damn dark you can't even tell what she looks like? When the only thing the cameraman had to do was just turn up the ISO, is ISO on a camera, whether it's like a digital camera like this or an actual camera, you can adjust the lighting to bring in more light so you can actually see people. They didn't even bother to do it. And what pissed me off when it came to the final match, the 6-man eliminator, was Mike. No, it wasn't. You see, I'm getting angry. It was not Matthew. I was about to say Mike. Not Matthew. It was Tom, who was crediting the production truck and everyone in it for this work, where most of the camera work was sloppy. Lighting for the camera could have been easily lit up. Audio was glitchy in the back and glitchy for them. And I'm sorry. I'm not trying to chew their asses out, but this was not a great show. It was good, but not great. But this is just me. Peace. Oh, and tell me, what did I miss? Maybe I missed something. Maybe it's something I didn't know. Tell me. Just tell me. Peace.